Hi, I'm Jo Greenwood and I work for Yorkshire Business and this is my story.
In the late 80s, early 90s, I was diagnosed with depression. Um, I went through a wide variety of therapies. I saw several different types of counsellor. Um, it was very difficult in the first place getting medication sorted to a point where I felt I was still myself, but was able to function on a daily basis. Um, my emotions were up and down. I was on a roller coaster. Um, with hindsight, I feel there was also a hormonal element to this, but it was never discussed at the time due to my age. I was very young to have been going through menopause, but I do feel that I did have a hormone imbalance. Um, over the years, I have had some tough times and some really good times. I've met some wonderful people who've been incredibly supportive, and I've had some really tough times. The tough times were largely based around where I worked. Um, it wasn't the right environment for me, and the people I worked for and with had very little understanding or empathy for what I was going through. I did meet some individuals who were very, very supportive, but that was overridden by the processes put in place by a large company. They have to have processes, they have to have policies, but for me, they made me worse. And every time I got worse, I took more time off work because that was the only option that was available to me to reduce my stress levels. I didn't want to be away from work. I actually quite liked my job and I loved the customer interaction. It was hard. Financially, it became incredibly hard. In the end, I had to sell my home. A lot of personal things happened in that time, from my husband being involved in an incident at work that led to him having to retire to work. My mother-in-law was diagnosed with cancer and 8 months later died from that. My father-in-law lost his business and had to move from um, somewhere near Huddersfield to Scarborough, finding him a new home, getting him settled when he had no money. Um, my own family had ups and downs, as all families do, and there was the suspected murder of my stepfather-in-law, which turned out to be a suicide, which hit all the family very hard because none of us had been aware of him having any emotional issues. So all of those things happened, and in the background of that, I ended a long-term relationship, I ended a long-term job, I started the job with the large company that didn't work for me. I had an unhappy time with alcohol, largely because I worked with alcohol, and it became an everyday thing that everybody drank. You drank largely every day, and that was the norm. So that didn't help because that doesn't agree with the medication, and the side effects from that can be horrendous. Um, but I've survived. In 2014, possibly 15, I was finally dismissed from the large company on the grounds of ill health. For 6 months, I was unemployed. I took some time trying to sort myself out, get myself into a better place. My husband was incredible. Um, we decided to sell our home because we could no longer, there was no longer an option for us ever being able to catch up with repayments. And it had become beyond us to just get on top of the day-to-day things to look after the house. After we'd done that, things started to get better. 6 months after I'd been unemployed, I was told that I would no longer be entitled to any form of benefits. So I looked around for what I could do for work and decided that I had previously done bookkeeping work for the hotel where I worked, and that this had the potential to be turned into a business. So I spoke to my lovely job coach, Lynn, and she pointed me at Yorkshire in Business. Yorkshire in Business became a safe place for me to go. Tracy was always there with a smile. Peter, Lynn, Liz, Roseanne, wonderful people who helped support me without realising what they were doing. They helped me to go out of my home, to create a business. I loved being there with them. I loved the things that they did and the opportunities that they presented, and the fact that they did all of this for free was amazing to me. So I set up my business. I found a few clients. I became very fortunate and I got a job working for a local taxi firm covering for maternity. When I had reached the end of that maternity time, I looked around and realised I didn't want to go back out and start fighting to find clients and worrying about where every penny was coming from. I really needed to go back into working for somebody else. Yorkshire in Business had been that safe place for me, and at the time when I was looking for that role, an advert popped up on Facebook saying they were looking for somebody. I thought about it. I contacted the people I knew at Yorkshire in Business to see if they thought there was any possibility of me being able to do the job, because my confidence was still very low and I didn't really believe that I had the ability to do the job. Apparently, initial reactions were from Jen, our wonderful leader, that she didn't want me, but Peter talked her into giving me an interview, and at the end of the interview I was offered the job, so I obviously did something right. And now, 4 years later, here I am. Through all that time, there have been ups and downs. Last year was especially tough with lockdown and things like that, but every day a little bit better, and the support and the friendship and the people around me make it easier to get through every day. So while the challenges are still there for me, and probably always will be, I will never get away from this demon of depression that is there. I can fight it and I can try not to let it win. I have support of good people, and hopefully the future is brighter than it was.
Go to Daddy. Go on, go to Daddy. Say hello. All right, say hello to Jen, and then you can go to Daddy.
So,
hello, Jen. Hello, Jen.
Hello, Poppy.
Go on. She does that in meetings all the time. She comes in, says hello to everybody, and then goes to Mark.
So we are live. We're not live. We are recording. So do you want me to include Poppy in your video?
We could do, yes. That would be fine.
This is what tends to happen when you join Jo on Zoom. Poppy likes to be part of the action.
She does.
So I just thought after your video, Jo, because it was really touching and I heard things that I'd not heard before, that it'd be just nice to chat about it, because a lot of what was discussed was obviously about some mental health problems, and you were struggling at work. And talk about what you're like now, because you didn't touch a lot on that now.
Oh, now?
Yes. Yeah. So your experience of working with us, Jo?
My experience of working with you guys is that whatever goes on, I'm always welcome. I'm always part of the family, and I'm always looked after. I'm always cared for. And it doesn't matter. There's times that I know when I've not been especially nice to people that I can hear myself saying things that when I'm myself I wouldn't say, that could be hurtful to other people, that are hurtful to other people. And I don't seem to have control over it. And yet these people just carry on as if I hadn't said it.
It's because we're one big family, Jo.
It is. And that's the feeling that we get. And I think that's the feeling a lot of our clients get as well, is that we are a family and that they become part of this. We have, with one of our contracts, we've had a limit of 12 hours, and yet we hit 12 hours with people and we never say to people, your time's up, goodbye.
No.
They're always welcome.
In fact, Jo is to support businesses. But what's actually happened today is the business has worked with Jo and taught her some painting.
Yeah, they did, yeah.
No, yeah. So starting at one of your comments in the video, I'm really sorry we've got a bit of feedback, but never mind. One of the comments in the video was, I didn't want you. And
Yeah.
we talk and we laugh about this all the time because we
We
can
do.
be totally open and honest. And I love the fact that because I feel the total opposite to that now, that I can say that. And it was really just because I would never normally look at clients. And it was out of the blue. But and this is one thing that you didn't touch on, is you wrote a written application to us. And what was amazing is I knew after that application that you were right for us. I just knew you were fit, which was great. And then we had the interview.
Yep.
You blew me away, didn't you, Jo?
Yep. And the only thing I remember from the interview is actually sitting there covering my face up because you asked me something I couldn't answer and I felt so embarrassed. And I can just remember covering my face up and laughing. But actually, I must have felt really relaxed to be able to do that.
And I don't remember. It does.
Isn't it
Do you
funny?
know do you know how we got feedback? Sorry, everyone. But anyway, this is what happens when you have to record stuff virtually.
Yep. It's never perfect.
Oh, well, I don't remember that, Jo. But what I do remember is that I knew straight away, which is amazing. And I think what's really good is to touch on some of the things that you've done with while you've been with us to help you with your mental health. So there's a couple of things that I think is really good, because the idea of this is to show to other people that you can find somewhere that you're comfortable, and employers can and will work around mental health or disabilities or whatever it is. So
I think two things that have been really, really useful for me is, one is access to work, which as a business hasn't cost Yorkshire and Business anything. It's a government-backed scheme. It's a shame that more businesses don't know about it, because it's support for anybody with any kind of disabilities. And they have recently brought in more support for people with mental health issues, which is fantastic. They won't directly do counselling for people with mental health, but they will help them to work on systems that keep them at work, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, you had that. You had
I had a lady who came to help me. I had a thing where I was convinced that if I didn't spend my entire hour with the client, I was cheating them somehow. Whereas in actual fact, that hour, if I don't spend some of that time keeping on top of the paperwork that's involved, then there's no money coming in to pay my wages for me to see the client, so the client gets nothing. So I worked with an amazing lady. I'm really sorry, I can't remember her name, Mel. And she worked with me, and we worked on how I could schedule things, how I could rearrange the way my brain thought. She introduced me to a book called The Chimp Paradox, which actually I read, and it's enlightening. Helped me to understand more of how my brain works. And then the other thing that Yorkshire and Business did for me, which helped me on more than one level, was Jen paid for me to work with the wonderful Kirsty Bortoft. I had some sessions with Kirsty that it's hard to say what we actually did, but I have a toolkit from working with Kirsty that helps me when I'm struggling. That helped me because I got that support from Kirsty, but it also helped me because I understood how much I was valued as part of the team at Yorkshire in Business, because they would make that investment in me as a person. They would pay that much money, which I know Kirsty's not cheap, but she is worth the money. So that was double-edged in the way it supported me.
Oh, thanks. I think this feedback is mine, so I'm really sorry. So there are times, even now, despite all of that, where you are still down. You still feel this, and that doesn't change anything, does it, Jo?
No, it doesn't. I have good times, I have bad times. Last year was a bit rough. I mean, last year, I was more or less turning into a hermit. I was quite happy to stay at home all the time. Jen gave me a talking to and told me I had to get my ass into the office more often. And actually, although I was maybe resistant at the time, it was the best thing for me. And we've developed a relationship where I now have so much trust in Jen and what she says to me, that if she says to me I need to do something, I trust that I need to do it.
And it was in home working when we were encouraged to be at home, and it wasn't that I didn't want you to be at home, but we were losing that touch. We were losing the Jen and Jo time, and actually that makes us who we are and more productive, and our clients benefit from that. And it was only one day. You just came in one day.
Yeah.
It was not a lot, and there was only ourselves in the office.
Yep.
So because we work over so many buildings, we're fortunate enough to be able to do that. But yeah, I thought that was quite important to just have a chat through, just to show people that there is life after working for large organisations that don't understand mental health. And so,
large organisations get stuck in treating everybody the same way, and unfortunately, we're not all the same. People are individuals, and I know it's very hard for them to know where to support people or how to support people, but listening to them and treating them as individuals is a start.
Oh, I'm on mute. Brilliant. Right then, Jo. So hopefully people will get a lot out of the video, which
Hopefully.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Bye.